Hello, welcome back to the Parent Cafe podcast. My name is Allie,
And I'm Sarah.
and we are joined today by
Kristin.
Hi, Kristin. So, Kristin is here today to talk to us about meditation. You are the owner of I Am Om.
Correct.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
So, we're going to be asking you lots of questions.
Yes.
That's
And
good.
So many.
we're super excited to learn more about meditation and like mommy self-care, things that moms can do in the limited time that they have. So why don't you start by telling us about yourself, I Am Om, kind of your journey, so we can get to know you a little bit.
That sounds good. Okay, so I was trying to think back today about when my journey began, and I always tell people that it started when my middle child was 1. So when my middle child was 1, I had 2 kids. I had 2 kids because she's the middle, and they were like 2 years old and 1 years old. Like very chaotic, 2 in diapers, all that jazz. But what I found was I didn't realize that I was depressed. Right? I thought I had 2 young kids, and so I put the blame on them. Let's just face it. I said, I'm a young mom. I am not happy because, I'm just busy all the time. And my whole attention goes on these kids. But what I realized was not only was I not happy, but I was not sad either. I was not sad. I was not angry. I was nothing. Like life was great. I realized this when I had a couple of family members in my life, and they were, one was going through a brain tumor, one was going through another major surgery, and I had no feelings one way or the other. And I'm like, this isn't right.
Is that? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I went to the doctor, told her how I was feeling. And she's like, okay, I'm going to give you medication, but you need to go talk to somebody. And I'm like, okay, I can do that. I can definitely go on some antidepressants, and I can definitely go talk to somebody. So that's what I did. I went to Alberta Health Services, and I went and met with a psychologist. I knew I wanted to do something a little bit more than that as well, because I didn't want to be the sole reliance to be on other people or to be on medication. So I reached out to my cousin. My cousin is a chauffeur trained primordial sound instructor, meditation teacher. So I reached out to her. We'll get into it. We'll get into it.
Yeah.
Go on.
My cousin Stacy Malcolm, she's a chauffeur trained primordial sound meditation instructor. So I reached out to her and said, hey, like, I want to start meditating. Like, can you lead me in the right direction? And so she led me to Deepak Chopra. So many of you probably have heard of Deepak before, or Deepak and Oprah. Quite often they will put together a 21-day meditation experience, and it's for free and it's awesome. So that's basically what I did. They didn't really have the meditation experiences at that time. They had a few different apps. So I downloaded one of his apps, and I set up a space in my little house to meditate. Now, we lived in a tiny house in Glenwood, and the only place that I could think of to set up a space where I wouldn't be disturbed by the kids or the husband and it wouldn't get destroyed was the basement bathroom. So that's what I did in this little basement bathroom behind the door. I set out some candles, and I had like some cushions that I sat on, and that's what I did. Wow. I just every day made it a priority to go down there, even if it was only for 10 minutes, to just kind of focus and meditate. So I started with a guided meditation. I don't know if you've done any of Deepak's meditations before. So his style is, there's a little bit of an intro about kind of what this meditation is about. And then he'll introduce like a Sanskrit mantra. And then he kind of leaves you in silence with the mantra, with some background music. And so you do that for a period of time, and then he kind of brings you back out of it. And so it really worked well for me. Some of the changes that I noticed, after the first few weeks was that my patience was better. So if the kids were being kids and annoying me, I was able to respond rather than react. Other things that I noticed was I'm an emotional eater, or you eat out of boredom. I noticed that I wasn't going to the pantry as often either, just as a side note.
That's sweet.
Yeah.
I am also a boredom eater.
Yeah.
I feel that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I keep myself busy, then I'm not bored. And then
I forget to eat if I'm busy.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm busy, I forget to eat. If I'm bored out of my mind, I eat everything. So it's like really, there's
Both
no
ends
winning.
of the spectrum. Yeah.
There's no middle. So
yeah, you're like, what can I get going on here? Yeah. So that's how my meditation journey kind of started. And so I would say it was probably March when I started meditating. And then in December, we found out we were pregnant with baby number 3. So that was great.
What's that, like 3 under 3 at that point?
It ended up being like 3 under 4 because my son had just turned 4.
Okay.
A couple months before the 3rd baby was born. Yeah,
it's a lot.
It was really busy. And
a lot,
like I moved to Edson 15 years ago, and I moved here not knowing a soul. So like a single 25-year-old woman moving to Edson, not knowing anybody. So I actually met my husband here. He's not from Edson either. He's actually from Nanaimo.
Oh, wow.
And we built our family here. So very difficult to be in a community where you don't have family to help you with all those little ones, right? Like you're doing it on your own, and then depending on your husband's schedule, sometimes you're really doing it on your own, and it can be very overwhelming. So how this kind of meditation journey continues is life gets busy with 3 kids. And the 3rd kid, she was just over a year old. And I realized that I'd gone off my medication when I was pregnant because I didn't want to be taking medication when I was pregnant. So I'd wean myself off with, the doctor's help and everything like that. And then, so she was a year old, and I found myself that I wasn't numb this time, but I was angry. I had a lot of anger and a lot of rage, like little things would just irritate me and tick me off. And I was yelling at my kids, and I'm like, okay, like they're 4, 3, and 1. Like I can't, this is not cool, right?
Yeah.
So I went back to the doctor and I said, hey, like this is what's happening. And again, it's depression has so many looks so different to people. Right. And just because, the first time that I really understood that I was depressed, there was nothing. This time there was anger. And so I asked myself, like I went and I got some medication, and I asked myself, what was I doing before that I'm not doing now? And I'm like, meditation. Right. So I started again. I set up my stuff and started meditating again in the bathroom. And it didn't take that long. And I was feeling more like myself, and I was able to wean off the medication and be able to, have meditation as my tool that I utilize to help me with my emotions. And so I think, and then it was at that point where I realized, hey, like meditation is like the bomb. Like I want everybody to know this. And so then that's when I looked into how I could become a meditation instructor. Meditation helped me but it might not be your answer, but at least I can share that with you, and you can be your own judge, right? And I'm not saying, like, I have a psychology background. I'm not saying that because you're taking medication for anxiety or depression that there's something wrong with you, because there's a real important place for that tool as well.
Yeah.
To help you through.
Absolutely.
Right? To help you through on your journey and whatever that may be.
Yeah.
Do you find, like, or did you find after you had your third baby is when you just stopped meditating, like just because your life got busy and changed again, or was it like just like before?
It was kind of like a gradual thing, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of like when you get into an exercise routine or something like that, and you're like, I'm gonna exercise every single day, and then you start this new program, and then as soon as you make an excuse not to do it one day, or you skip one day, then that rolls into the next and the next, and then you just aren't doing it anymore, right?
Yes.
Same thing with, say, cutting out sugar. The same thing, right?
You're really feeling me right now.
I'm gonna cut out sugar and everything's gonna be great. And then Halloween rolls around and you're like, oh, I'll just have fun. Right?
Oh man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're speaking to us.
Yeah.
So that's a bit of my journey. And so then when I was looking into becoming a meditation instructor, of course, knowing my cousin and how she went and did her training with at the Chopra Center, which is down in California, looking into that, and it's quite the time commitment and the monetary commitment. And so having the kids as small as they were, like, that was just not an option. So I was looking at things closer to home, and then that's when I discovered Lifestyle Meditation in Edmonton. Their owner, Mandy Trapp, was a Chopra trained meditation instructor, and I really just, through the website, really kind of bonded with her and her style. And so that's when I took her meditation course in the city. And then when I came back, I'm like, okay, I can do this. I think I took the course in like August or something, and I think January I held my first like meditation 101 at the Red Brick. Yeah.
That's awesome. Did you find, like, when you first started to get into meditation, was it easy for you to like get into it? Like, were you connected with it kind of instantly, or did it take a few, like, oh, I don't really like this, but I'm really going to try? Or, because I find when I meditate, my like head isn't in the right space ever. So I'm like kind of zoning out. I don't really.
Yeah. And I think there's a lot of misconceptions about meditation that way. We think that we should, we're here, we're conscious, we have all our thoughts, then we go into meditation and we should be down here. And then there's just no thoughts. Then the bell rings and out we go. Right? That's what we think. That's the misconception. How it really goes is, you're here, you start meditating, and you like, okay, I got dishes to do, I got laundry to do, and then the dog barks and you're up here, and then you're like, okay, thinking about the mantra, thinking about my breath, and you start relaxing, and then it goes. It's not flat. The goal of meditation is not to have zero thoughts at all.
Okay.
Sometimes the goal of meditation is just to be a little bit more mindful, right? So you can be more mindful about how you're breathing or something like that, or really kind of focus your thought onto one thing. So with mantra meditation, why I think I connect to it so much. So mantra means mind tool. So that's what it is. A mantra is a mind tool. I particularly resonate with Sanskrit mantras because it's more about the vibration of the words than it is about the meaning, right? If you say like a mantra, like a affirmation, like I am peace, then you'll repeat that, I am peace. Am I really peaceful? Like, you start thinking about affirmation that you're saying instead of just the mantra. So a really simple mantra is like, so hum. So you just repeat, so hum, so hum, so hum. And it just gives your mind like a single point to focus on. So you start thinking about the laundry, you start thinking about the dishes, and you're like, no, you just gently bring your mind back to so hum, so hum, so hum. Eventually, what happens is there'll be a period in there where you weren't sleeping, but you weren't thinking about the mantra either. You're just like, oh, what mantra am I doing?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, so hum.
Yes.
And so that part where you weren't thinking, about anything and you forgot
And
the mantra.
you thought you were sleeping.
And you weren't sleeping.
Right.
That's the gap. That's the gap. Or
That's
the
what would be like
spot.
meditation. That's what like people think meditation is. Like that is the
That's
gap.
what people think.
Like
that's the
goal.
gap. People think that meditation needs to be this really long gap, but essentially what the gap is the space between your thoughts. So the goal of meditation isn't for the whole 20 minutes to be no thought.
Right.
The goal of meditation is to slowly just increase how long the space between your thoughts are.
So I've done like one in-person like guided meditation before.
Yeah.
And it was like, I think an hour and a half that it was scheduled for. So I got there and it started right away. We were all kind of like laying in the room. There was like that quiet music and she was speaking, but then I don't remember like probably more than half of the things that were said. And I know I wasn't like sleeping, like snoring, because I was aware that I was doing this, but like I didn't have any thoughts during like a time. So the hour and a half went by probably in like 10 minutes. And I was just like, then when she kind of brought us back, I was like, oh my God, where was I? Like, what happened? And I liked it, but I can never get there on my own. Like, even if I'm listening to something like audio, I feel like the environment helped me because on my own in my home, even if I'm somewhere quiet, I find I'm just like squirrel, like, oh, my phone just went off. Oh, like, I don't know, the laundry just buzzed or something. So I'm just, I can never get there on my own. Is that like, so like the environment is huge.
Environment is huge, right? And so if we think about, like, if we want to get into the psychology of things, right? And like Pavlov and his dogs or whatever, if you set up the same routine over and over again, then it helps you to get into that space quicker. So whether that is you go into you have a certain space where you meditate and you have kind of like a similar routine. It's the same reason we give kids a bedtime routine, right? Because they know, okay, bath time, jammies, warm milk, sleep, right?
Yeah.
Same idea for us. If we get into the routine that, okay, I'm gonna, light a candle, light some incense, turn off the light, meditate. Same idea. So we kind of have to, the more we condition ourselves, the quicker it'll be for us to get into that state.
When you say
not that you have to do it, but that's one way to get there a little quicker.
When you say the word meditate, what else, like for just moms who maybe are even thinking like, well, I don't have time to like go and meditate because like I said, the thing I was a part of was like an hour and a half, but I know that that's not necessarily what has to happen. So is there like forms of meditation that are just super, not like super quick where they're dismissive, but super quick in the sense that they're not like a scary thing to take a break and do? Like
that I can go do it in the shower.
Yeah, is like
when I'm actually by myself.
Yeah, like what would you consider forms of meditation that are things you can just kind of do in the moment, no matter where you are, if you're like feeling like in the shower?
Yeah. So there's a few different things that you can do. So it depends if, say, you only have like 2 minutes and you
Yeah.
need like a little bit of a break, or where you could actually sit down for 10. Like if you can sit down for 10, I don't think that's totally unreasonable. I think your husbands can take over parenting duties for 10 minutes. You just need to
You would
you just
think.
need to have this, you just need to have your headset on and crank it up.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you know, if you hear them screaming, don't go running. They can handle it. But one thing that you can do is, I've done this before, where I've set like timers on my phone for every so many hours, and then with a link to like a quick YouTube video on like breathing, right? So for like 2 or 3 minutes, you just, in your calendar, it pops up, okay, it's 12 o'clock, time to do some breathing. You click on the link and you just sit there for 2 minutes. And it might be, breathe in for 4, hold for 4, out for 4. And you literally might just do that for 2 minutes, just to try and help calm yourself a little bit, right?
Yeah. I was having a really emotional morning, and my friend actually texted me exactly that. The breathe for 4, hold for 4, breathe out for 4. And
Yeah,
I was just like, this is crazy. We're going to be talking about this.
You knew.
I knew.
And it's so easy, right? And it's something we can all think about, our breath. Like the breath is so important. When you do yoga as well, right? The breath is such a huge part of yoga, and yoga is so much more expansive than just the movements, right? Same thing with meditation.
For me, like I have not tried yoga. I have not tried meditating because like the breathing part to me is, I don't know why, it's overwhelming. Like I can't focus on my breath, or if I do, I feel like I'm breathing wrong. Like, am I breathing right? Like I don't know, and like I can't like slow down. So like I feel like I'm always like going. So maybe that like overwhelms me. I don't know like what it is. It always scares me.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting you bring that up, that you say that you're always going. So I have a couple different programs, and so I have an online program that I do, and yesterday I just recorded a guided meditation, and in this guided meditation I talk about, are you able to be in that awkward silence, in that awkward stillness, and just be, and just not feel like you need to do anything? It's like getting a ride with a stranger, right? Because you're going on a road trip and you're saving gas money, and you feel like you need to hold a conversation with them for the whole time, but it might be a 6-hour road trip.
That's me.
When the conversation ends and there's this silence, are you comfortable in that silence, or do you feel like you need to break that silence?
Yes.
Yeah.
I need to find, you need to send me the link to that video, because like I totally relate to that. Like I'm like, for certain people, I'm fine with like a comfortable silence, like that's okay. But like if I was with a stranger, I would totally talk the whole time. Like until it's probably more awkward that I haven't stopped.
Yep.
Like even like I put music on because like it's silent, and I like am not used to that. Like I've always just like, I have to put music on, I have to put something on to like drown out the quiet.
I think I agree, because I'm okay. Like, I'm a pretty awkward person, so I'm okay being awkward.
Yeah.
But I find that I'm also like a space filler, and I want other people to feel not awkward.
Yes.
So I'm like, I'm okay being awkward, but I don't want Sarah to feel awkward. So I'm going to talk the whole time.
Yeah.
And then it like spirals into like, I've said too much. Now I've said things I shouldn't have said out loud. Now I'm very awkward. Sarah's probably really awkward because I've like overshared. But Sarah's a bad example because I overshare with her every day.
And I do it too.
Yeah.
Because we
like,
both do.
Yeah, I find like with strangers, I have done that where like I've just met someone randomly, they've struck up a conversation, and now they just know about my life. They know where I live. They know my social insurance number. they know everything about me. And I'm just like, why did I do that? Why couldn't I just stand there awkwardly and like just be okay in like silence? And I wonder that often. I don't know. I know it's like partly like I have social anxiety, so like I know that, but
Yeah.
that's where like I try to meditate. I've sat in silence before. Like luckily we have such a nice view. Like I live west of town, so on nice days I can see the mountains from like our windows. So I have sat before and just like stared at them in silence and like not really thought too much while doing it. But I don't do that enough. And I know that. Like I definitely, that's like something that probably happens twice a year if I'm thinking about it. And then I don't know. I think I'm just so like my phone's a distraction, my fiance's a distraction, everything's just a distraction for me. So
And it is, right? Our kids are a huge distraction too. And our kids, husbands, significant others. And what's really interesting is if we want to get into the self-care part is when I had my studio in town, I would have like Sunday night meditations. Like I went into town every Sunday. Oftentimes, I only had like one or two people come to meditate with me on Sundays because it's really easy to make excuses, right? I would host something for the kids, like a kids meditation or mindfulness or story or a craft or something like along those lines. Those classes were full. Because we're so willing to give to other people that we're not willing to give to ourselves.
Yeah.
Right?
That balance between like taking care of yourself and selfishness, we don't blur it enough.
No, not at all. Right? So it's really important to try and find that balance. And if your husband tells you going grocery shopping is self-care, then like he needs to go grocery shopping. Right?
What if you're like addicted to grocery shopping though?
Oh,
then is it a form of self-care?
Maybe. It depends on the person.
I feel like I grocery shop like every other day for things I don't need because I just like to buy food because I like to eat it.
Yes.
Because I'm bored and I want to eat it all.
I find lately, like with COVID, like I'm working from home, I live at home, like going to the grocery store is like, oh, I'm going out for the day. Like that is my outing. So it is my self-care because I'm not allowed to bring my daughter. So she has to stay at home. She can't come with me. So I'm just like, oh, gotta go get the milk. Like go. And then I'm there for an hour. I'm like, I came for one thing and why am I still wandering? So I don't know. I think it is almost a form of self-care, especially these days, like when you can't get out of your house too much.
Yeah. Well, it depends, right? It really depends on the situation, and it depends on the person. Like, I'm in the same boat as you guys, where I'm at home, I work from home, I work by myself. There's no conversation, right? It's just me, myself, and I. But in January, if I'm being honest, I really was in a dark place again. Like I was in my little cocoon, in my little like hermit stage, that I didn't even want to go to town to go grocery shopping because it's like, what's the point? I still can't see people. I still can't have a conversation with anybody. But yet my kids need food.
Right.
So I think it does. It really depends. So it depends what fills your cup. Like if a meaningful conversation with somebody really fills your cup, then really you just need to pick up the phone and call somebody. It doesn't need to be a Zoom call. You don't need to get, dolled up. It could just be a regular phone conversation with your bestie, right?
That's actually been, I think, the nice thing about COVID. Like, I hate to use those things in the same sentence. Nice thing about COVID. I don't know. But like reconnecting with people, I find myself like phoning a lot more than I did before. Even just like reaching out randomly to ask friends, like, "Hey, how are you today?" like that before. It was like, oh, I'll see them on the weekend, it's not a big deal. So I'm just kind of finding that I'm reaching out a lot more, and that's been nice. December, when it was kind of the height of everything, them saying like you can't see your family at Christmas time, and that was a really hard time. And then everyone kind of, depending on your family, some people were made to like feel guilty about it too, like for making that decision to not see people. So it just was kind of like, not, I don't want to say devastating, but like coming out of like December into January was hard. Like it was the longest January I think I've ever had. And it was like, I was waiting for January to be done. And it took me the entire year of COVID to start feeling that, like, that impact, I guess, that it's had on everyone in different ways. And it like just crept up on me after all that. And I was like, man, it really is affecting me, not connecting with people. And I can't focus. Like I couldn't. I was just all over the place. But I don't know. I do know, like, taking time to myself, like I love self-care, but meditation isn't something that I've been able to, like, maybe I am doing it right. And then I'm just being hard on myself with like,
I think so.
My head's like all over the place. Cause I take like long baths where I'm just kind of laying there and all of a sudden the water's cold, or like, I go get my eyelashes done cause I'm wearing a mask, so my eyelashes might as well look good. I don't know. But like I try and like take that time for myself, but it's hard. It's really hard. And then you do feel guilty because it's just kind of like, why should I get to take care of myself so much? Or how much should I take care of myself? Like how much time do I devote to myself? But I don't know. My mom always tells me, like, you're born alone, you die alone. So you really only have yourself. And she's always said that to me. And I'm just like, that's so depressing, but it's not.
True.
It's so true. Yeah. Like this is the only person you have. Really. Dark.
Yeah, it is really.
I was like, I had to take a moment of that.
Deep. No.
I'm going through something, guys.
It is true. So, okay, I'm approaching 40 this year in a couple months, 6 weeks, maybe that's
Happy
it.
birthday.
I did.
Yeah.
Almost.
Thanks. Almost. I didn't start having kids until I was 30. So I had already had a university degree. I had a OH&S certificate. I had a really good career in oil and gas. And the day before I found out I was pregnant, I was laid off. The company, the company I was working for, they got bought out by another company. They decided to close the Edson office. And so a lot of huge changes happened at that point in time, along with finding out you're pregnant and then becoming a mother. And I find a lot of times when we are becoming mothers, we lose our identity and we don't know who we are anymore. And so we try to fill that void or that hole that we're having, or we just try not to feel anything at all, like I did in my case. But we try so many things and so many things outside of ourselves to fill that. And I would have to say that's how it was even through my younger years, right? Through being a teenager and being in high school, trying to fit in this group or trying to fit in with this group, and then listening to the guidance counselor. You need to have a university degree. You need to have, a good paying job. And then hearing from your parents, you need to have a good husband and you need to have kids. And once you have all these things, then you're going to be happy. Right? We think that happiness is contingent on all these things outside of ourselves, but we don't realize that we can be happy right now, but the happiness has to come from within. And the only way we're going to get to know ourselves is by being still and by being quiet.
That's hard.
It is hard.
It's hard and it's uncomfortable, and it's especially uncomfortable when you have to be accountable to yourself, right? You can't blame anybody else for for how you are, right?
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
And
My
then
kids always say, my
that-
kids, they're yeah. She made me angry. No, she did not make you angry. That's how you're responding, but you don't need to be angry at your little sister,
mhm.
right? Like after school one day, my kids come in earlier this week. Hunter ran away. Why did she run away? Well, I took her toque off of her head and I threw it in the ditch.
Why?
Really? Really? My son, he just knows how to poke buttons and he just keeps doing it and doing it. But yet, if somebody does it to him,
Yeah.
like, watch out, right? It's the biggest
Yeah.
deal. But so, same thing with us. So, we're trying to teach our kids how to regulate their own emotions. We need to be accountable to ourselves and figure that out for ourselves as well. So let's kind of just go down a little rabbit hole here.
Sure.
Okay.
So another
We love those.
We love them.
Another benefit with meditation
Mhm.
and getting to know yourself is like when you're in a depressed state or you have a lot of anxiety, your libido sucks, right? It's no good. But once you're able to focus on yourself, that's going to be another benefit that you see. You see that you are worthy of love and attention and pleasure, all those certain things. And so then you're able to open up and have a more intimate relationship with your partner. Benefits of meditating and being, I don't want to say in control of your emotions, but being aware of your emotions, it really plays off on the whole family dynamic. I know when I am irritated and when I am stressed out, my kids pick up on that and they may not understand it, but they're also irritated and they're also stressed out.
Yep.
Like they're little sponges, right? And they can pick up on everything. So I think that's a nice residual benefit of meditation. If you find that your kids are little hellions or whatever you want to call them, focus on yourself,
right,
and see what changes happen in them just by being in that calmer presence.
I could definitely see that. Like, we talk a lot about like kids mirroring your actions too. So likely if they're seeing you going into that space, then they're probably thinking like, maybe I should sit with myself. Like, and kids meditate and we don't even really know that they're doing it, right? They're kind of sitting in silence and like looking around and just kind of focusing on or not focusing on just being outside or sitting in, like they're feeling the breeze or whatever they're doing. And I remember being a kid and
looking
just
at the clouds.
zoning out and looking at the clouds and just enjoying myself. But yeah, I feel like if you did it more and you kind of showed that in your family, then I feel like their behavior would definitely probably improve, I'm sure. Like
Oh, definitely, right? Along with anything else. Like, so last week, we took away screen privileges until the basement got cleaned. And they weren't very interested in, the first day or whatever, they complained about not having screens. But at the same time, they were not that motivated to clean the basement. It took a good full week for that basement to be cleaned. But what I noticed throughout that week, especially towards the end of the week, their behavior really changed because they were not glued to the screens. They were calmer, they were getting together better, getting along better, they were playing their games, or like they don't need, I want to say they don't even need toys because they just grab whatever Amazon boxes I have and they're cutting them up. Their biggest thing is, Mom, where's the tape?
Yeah.
I need the tape. I need the glue. They're building cat houses and everything else, right? We can learn so much from the kids that we can apply to ourselves as well, right?
Well,
Like when we're binging Netflix, or we're getting into a really good book, how does your behavior change with the people in your house, right? Like I almost get annoyed. Like I'm reading like a really good book or something like that, like a fiction, and I'm like in this new world.
Zone.
Yeah, I'm totally zoned out. And then my kids want something, and I'm like, right?
Get
I
away
feel
from
like
me.
a cat
Yeah.
hissing at them, right? But we learn so much. Like if we are totally occupy ourselves or obsessed about something, then everything else irritates us. Same thing with, like, you always hear about manifestation, right? That you can manifest anything that you want. So
put it out into the universe.
You put it out into the universe that you're going to manifest something, right? Maybe you're manifesting a new house or something like that. But you almost get obsessed about it, right? And you want it to be so specific. And if anything doesn't go your way, you're really irritated about it. Instead of viewing manifestation more like, this is, the end goal, this is how I want to feel at this end goal. And these are the things that I think are going to help me get there. But I'm open to other opportunities that will still help me.
So instead of manifesting like a specific, I'm going to have Christian Louboutins by next December, that are red. Instead of doing that, you're instead saying like, I am going to be happy. Like, you know what I mean? Like, or I want happiness, or I want like like more broader.
Yeah, to be a little bit more broader. So one of my goals, or one of the things that I'd love to manifest, is to be able to reach more people and to help more people on, I don't want to say global, but let's say provincial level, or through the country. I'd like to be able to reach more Canadians and share my story and help guide people to be able to help themselves. So, I could get really specific about that and say that I want to do that by, say, opening up a huge meditation space or like a retreat center, and that I'm not going to be happy until I have this retreat center that all these people can come to.
Right.
Instead of just opening it up and being open to opportunities, like you guys reaching out to me and say, hey, do you want to be on the podcast? Sure, that sounds fun. Or
we have listeners in Brazil.
Isn't that fun? And sometimes like bigger opportunities will happen if you open yourself up that way and not be, I don't want to say narrow-minded, but not have the blinders on. Right? Sometimes we can have those blinders on and we don't see everything else that's going on.
The opportunities around us, we're missing them.
Yeah. Like I find myself like I'm pretty open-minded to most things. Like I'm down to try anything. If it comes up, like, sure, let's do it. But I'm also like, for me now, after having a child, I'm just like, well, her needs come first. And like lots of parents are that way. So like I always get on the back burner. So like even like for self-care, I'm like, honestly, like just like she's just turned 2 and I'm just like, okay, like I can go read a book now. It's okay. I still do it after she goes to bed, and like when she's not going to sleep, I'm just like, "Ugh, I just wanted to read my book and now I'm mad. I can't read my book because it's been another hour because you're not sleeping." Like, so like maybe I have to change my ways of like, okay, I can't schedule my self-care time. Like, do you know what I mean?
Sometimes it's really hard to be on a schedule, right? So like sometimes there's some people very disciplined at waking up like an hour or two before the kids, and that's kind of when they get their time in. And if that works for you, awesome. Other people, they have to fit it through nap time, or then once the naps go away, you really feel hooped about how to get that through. I think if you do have a partner at home, then really kind of voicing to them that you need to have that time. So maybe you want a half an hour or an hour to read, and you're saying, I need you to take over so that I can have this half an hour, whether that's reading or meditating or whatever it is. But I think it's a huge priority that needs to be done, because being the one that gets up in the middle of the night because they're breastfeeding still, or they need their bottles, or you're letting your husband sleep because he gets up at 6 a.m. and you want him to be rested so he doesn't get into an accident. Right.
Yeah.
Right. We do so much for our families, whether it's for our husbands or for our kids, that we put ourselves way low on that priority list. And even when you're trying to grow something, so even when I was growing my business on in town and everything, so trying to schedule, say, meditation classes or workshops and stuff, all those things need to be scheduled generally on evenings or weekends. And then there's the guilty feeling that you have that you're taking that time away from your family when you should be spending time with them. You know what I mean? And then it gets to the point where you're like, well, but I haven't even done any self-care yet, right? So you end up spending your self-care time on the business or whatever it is. And you're like, but I haven't even, when's the last time I met up with my friends for a coffee or anything? And so like that balance word, like I think balance is very important in trying to figure out what that looks like for you, or understanding. So we talked about hormones, right? Ebbing and flowing, but understanding that even throughout the year or throughout the month, there are going to be times where, you're sacrificing, but other times where you can really kind of cash in, right? So summertime, I'm going to have less alone time because the kids are home, but I get to cash in on that family time. I'm able to cash in on doing lots of fun things. So maybe, I focus on work while the kids are at school. And this is actually the first year that I get to do that because my youngest is in kindergarten now.
No, I really like that though. Like that, like people feel so guilty about like, cause like I work and then so my daughter goes to childcare. So then when she comes home, I feel like I need to like give her all my attention because I've missed it throughout the day. Right. But then like, even like to get other stuff done, like, sorry, I still have to do laundry. I still have to do this. So then like that self-care gets put aside. So then you feel guilty, like taking that time even because you're like, well, no, these things need to be priority. So like just having that, like, okay, like I like that you can cash in, like, okay, maybe I do take that one day to just do the laundry and just play and focus on that. But then like maybe another day, maybe it is a month away, but I can focus on my self-care for like an hour, like, you know what I mean? Like cash in. I like that. Like, yes, I can cash in.
Like another thing that we used to do, and we would still do it, but with, again, the C word out there, date nights, right? Like even if it's once a month or whatever it is. So summertime, we're both golfers, so
nice.
In the summertime, it looks a little bit different because he golfs on men's night and then I golf on ladies' night. So we don't get golfing together too much, but now the kids are getting older and they kind of like golfing too. So we can do some family things. But for us to do one-on-one date nights doesn't really happen in the summertime. But in the wintertime, we started, when there was a curling rink, we were curling, but now we are bowling. So once a week, we have a standing babysitter and we get to go out and bowl. Like, of course, we're with our friends or whatever, but it's still, it's that chance to get out and to have adult conversation,
right?
And kind of just making it a priority, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think parents right now are forgetting that babysitters are still allowed to come over and you can still go and do something for
Mm-hmm.
yourself. Like I'm one like that because I'm like, well, I have nowhere to go, so I don't need a babysitter.
Right.
Right. But
Right.
like I can still plan something and
Mm-hmm.
go away. It's still allowed. So
Yeah, like the restaurants are open now,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So
Yep.
you can go have dinner with your spouse or
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
go for, actually the bars are open. You can go for
Yeah.
a drink if you
Yeah.
want to
Yeah.
too,
Exactly.
right? Like you can
Yeah. I
go
think scheduling
do
self-care,
something.
I think scheduling self-care is super important. Like that's kind of how I do it. Like I will schedule it. We have a calendar on our countertop and I'll like put all my stuff on the calendar. So it's like, well in advance that I am not partaking in like supper tonight because I'm not going to be here. Like, so I've been better at that, but I think scheduling it and making it like an actual like thing in your calendar where it's that priority for yourself to be like, okay, you've got our kid today because I got to go for 2 hours, like please do that. But I know like a lot of moms just take that responsibility and that on themselves. Like they don't leave their husband, but then it's no problem when their husband wants to go for a beer with their friend and nobody considers like that's their self-care.
Mm-hmm.
Being in the garage,
Exactly.
tinkering on the truck for 3 hours is their self-care. Like,
Mm-hmm.
installing that sound system that they just spent $1,000 on is self-care. Like, and so then I always look at those things. I'm like, what about me?
Yeah.
Like, what about me? I don't buy $1,000 sound system for my razor. Like, I'm gonna go get some Christian Louboutins.
I
Don't
feel
own
like
a
there's
pair.
something here.
No, I don't own a pair of those. Like, I wish I could have owned a pair of those, but I don't even know that I'd have anywhere to wear them because we have 8 months of winter here. So it's just a pipe
But
dream.
Ellie, like, don't you notice that, if you were to schedule that self-care, like they want, like your
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
spouse wants you to schedule that
Yes.
self-care.
Yeah.
They
Totally.
know that when you get that time,
I'm
that
happy.
you are
Yeah.
feeling so much better, and that the
Yeah.
house, what is it? Happy wife, happy life.
Happy
Yeah.
wife, happy
Like
life. It's
they
true.
know that.
It's
They
true.
they know that. And so a lot of times I think we put that guilt on ourselves.
Mhm.
Yes.
We
Um
forget
it,
that they want us
and,
to
and
do
we
that.
we
Yeah.
assume we make a lot of assumptions, right? I think we're bad at
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
at making those
Yes.
assumptions. But if you actually open up and have a conversation, they want you to go
Yeah.
um, and do things. And it's just that we need to be a little creative about it, because by the time we can go and do something, it's usually in the evenings.
Mhm.
And right now, with, like you said, with nothing being open right now, what does that look like?
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Absolutely.
So just having to be a little creative there,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's so much to like taking care of yourself, being with yourself and like realizing that that person is most important is like you.
Yeah.
Um that's really hard for people to get to that place, I think. To even have a conversation where they get to notice that, I think is difficult.
I think a
Yeah.
lot of people don't know where to start too.
Mhm.
Like to me, like I know about meditation. I know how good self-care is, but like I can't start,
Mm.
right? Like where like how to like jump that gun and just do it and get into it. Like how did you get into it, Kristen?
Seriously, it was in the bathroom. That's how I got
Yeah.
into it, and just making it a priority.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it sounds like the most cliche thing to say, but you have to make it a priority. And
Mhm.
like Ellie said, if you have to schedule it,
Mhm.
that at 7:30 or at 8:30 every night, you're going downstairs for 20 minutes, and it doesn't matter if the baby's being colicky or whatever's happening, you are checking out
Mhm.
for
Mhm.
that time, even if it's only for 10 minutes, just to go relax. And same thing, Ali, you said scheduling self-care is so important. And you said, you went to that one meditation class, and you know,
Mhm.
it was an hour and a half long or however it was, but you
It was
were able
long.
to get into that nice relaxed
Mhm.
space. But
Mhm.
because in that space you didn't have the other distractions,
No, that's
right?
where, yeah, I
Because
prefer removing
you made
myself.
it a
Yeah.
priority. You
Yeah.
made it a priority,
I definitely
right?
prefer removing myself to like go to things like that. Like when the yoga studio was open, I was going and doing yoga, which I really enjoy. I'm not very flexible, but I really like it more than anything for the feeling I get while I'm there. Like it's less to me like I'm getting a sweet workout, or I'm like I am working on my flexibility or lack thereof, I guess. I'm just not flexible. But I think for more than anything, it was like getting myself out of the house into like just a nice environment for an hour made me feel so good about myself, even though the thing that I was there doing, I'm not like the greatest at. Like that was never like, it wasn't ever like, I'm going to be a yogi master. It was like, I just like this environment and it's like giving me peace being there. And then I get home and I'm like happy. I just want to like, like it just felt different. And so then when like the C word happened and everything closed again, I was like, well, bummer. Like I was doing that probably like 3 or 4 times a week. So, that made me hurt for
Yeah.
sure. Like,
Oh, totally.
yeah.
I remember the first time even that I went for a Reiki session, and I bawled. I cried on that Reiki table because I was actually doing something for me. And the emotions of me actually loving me, right?
Yep.
It was very overwhelming. But the same idea, or even, you're going to laugh at this, but you were talking about yoga. I can't remember, it was a couple of years ago. Because the youngest, she was finally able to go into the kids room. I signed up for one of Patty's classes, and I know you guys have had her on here before. But going to Patty's classes and like doing lunges and squats, and I'm so exhausted, but I'm crying. Like it looked weird. I'm crying doing these squats and these lunges, not because it hurts, it does, but because I actually made myself a priority. And there's so
Making me
much emotion there.
emotional.
I know.
There's so much emotion, like there's so much heart there, and there's so much emotion there when you actually take the time and make yourself a priority.
Yeah.
Whether that's talking with a girlfriend, whether that's booking a massage, whether that's, going to see a Reiki practitioner or something like that. And there's some things that you can do and you don't need to be in person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for being
Yeah.
here and
Thank
talking
you
to
so
us.
much.
Yeah.
It's really eye-opening because I don't know anything about meditation, so I think it's
Okay, so maybe before we end, I should guide you to some resources.
Yes.
Okay,
please.
so if you are looking to get into meditation, a really good app is called Insight Timer. And they have free guided meditations. They have just like a timer where you can have some ambient sounds in the background. You can have gongs in there, whatever you want. But basically, if you were just going to repeat a mantra, like Soham or whatever mantra you want to say, you can do that over a course of 10 minutes or whatever. And you just have to play it and do that. You can do that. You can go to my YouTube channel. I have an I Am Om YouTube channel, and every week I am posting a 10-minute mantra meditation. I'm actually following Deepak's new book called Total Meditation. And in the back of the book, he has 52 Sanskrit mantras. So every week I'm recording just a short 10-minute meditation. So you can do that and join that. I also do Oracle cards. So I do like a weekly forecast every week too. So there's some fun stuff in there. I would also sign up for like Deepak and Oprah's 21-day experiences because they put 3 or 4 of them out a year, and those are they're really nice to kind of get into. Another guy to look up is David G. If you go to, he's probably on Spotify, but I'm on YouTube Music and I'm on Apple Music. And if you look up, he has 40-day transformational meditation albums. He actually worked with Deepak, and he was the first guy that did the 21-day experiences, and then he kind of branched off on his own, and now he does 40-day transformations.
Oh, wow.
So David G, he's a cool guy to look into. Jack Cornfield is another guy. There's so many different resources out there.
40 days, like that'll create a habit.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
That's kind of the point. And David G has a really deep, like, radio voice.
Nice.
Oh.
He looks like, it's really funny because most of the people and the resources are all in this area in like California. It's like California is kind of like the hub, this center, this vortex of meditation instructors and mentors, I guess. But yeah, David G, he has a book, and it's called The Secrets of Meditation. So that's a really good book. I have the book, but I listened to it on Audible. And he actually reads it. So you get to hear his voice in there too. But he goes through a number of different styles of meditation in there as well. So you can find something that works for you. For sure.
Awesome.
Audiobooks seem like they would be popular, and then that's something that you can listen to while doing other things too.
Yes.
Yeah, like I listened to that book while I was driving. Like I have a 12-hour road trip, so that's what I listened to.
That's cool.
And of course I didn't do the meditations while I was driving.
That's good. Glad to hear.
If anyone listening is planning on doing that, pull over.
Yeah. Pull over.
Find a nice grassy area.
Yeah, exactly. So, and then you can find me on Facebook and Instagram. I have a free Facebook group too that I post some stuff in and things like that. So
thank you.
Cool.
Yeah,
yes,
I'll make sure to link your pages. I'll find them all and link them when we post this. So for everyone listening, you can find them attached to this post. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
We'll see
Thanks
you
for
again
having
soon.
me. You betcha.
Bye.
Bye.